WesWes, y'all.
Yo, what's up, fams? We're back at it again on Empty Out the Clip. I got Joey Nanai here in the house. What's up, man? How you doing over there, level 3? How you doing?
Level 3 is beautiful. Don't worry about the number 3. Level 3 is beautiful here in the city of the future and everywhere else in New Zealand other than Auckland. Auckland over there.
Are you particularly talking about the KFC and the McD's that you're allowed to indulge?
Yes, among other things, like being able to shop from places like Mitre 10 and that, which is really good.
Yep. Oh, sweet, man. Yeah, I think, we got one more week and then who knows from there. Looks like it's on track with the cases coming down. Well, I don't know. But it depends. Oh, because man, we're starved of any NPC. No rugby, but I think level 2 they're allowed to have games, but no one in the crowds. So we're probably looking at NPC where we have no fans in stadiums, and probably what they do with the Auckland teams. Do they move them out? That means they have to quarantine before they start the comp again.
True.
But
unless, yeah, that's a fair point. Quarantine, and they'll have to stay out of level 1. So they'll have to play all their home games. Where would you have the Auckland home games outside of Auckland region?
Well, that's the thing. They've got to come up with a home base for them. But we're talking about 2 weeks quarantine. So realistically, the NPC won't start until 2 weeks anyway. But if Auckland does go down to level 2 within that 2 weeks, then there's probably no point in doing that. But yeah. But now, like how I said, there's no NPC, but there is some NRL. So at least there's something in the weekends for us to watch. But yeah, man, no, I was thankful for the NRL, even though I wanted to see RTS don the Auckland jersey and see how he goes. But we're gonna have to wait for that one. But no, man, it's been good. This last couple of weeks catching up with the NRL because I don't really watch NRL that much, but I'm forced to. But it's all good. See my team, the Manly Seagulls, doing really well. That last game, I don't know if you watched that last game, but man,
sure did.
That was awesome.
Sure did. And obviously the name on everyone's lips at the moment is Tommy Turbo. And how awesome he is. I even went on an NRL Facebook page and they're already talking about him being in the GOAT conversation for the fullback position. Like, come on, guys. He's had one stellar season out of however many seasons he's had. And you're putting him in the GOAT conversation? Come on. Did they also do that with the likes of Jared Hayne? Did they do that with the likes of Billy Slater? Did they do that with Tedesco even after one stellar season? So, come on. Let him have 5 stellar seasons in a row and then we'll put him in the mix.
Yeah, right. A good example of someone who's done that is Cameron Smith. So
Exactly.
And I think he's on a GOAT status right now, I think at the moment. He's the current.
Yep. So
he's the current GOAT on the leaderboard.
I saw as well there was a poll somewhere for GOAT per decade. Because it's hard to compare eras. So they were talking about the 70s, the 80s, 90s, obviously the 2000s, the 2010s, and now we're in the 2020s. So far, the argument for 2020s is between Teddy and Turbo. So far. But and then last decade was Cameron Smith, and the decade before that, I think it was Joey Johns. And then the decade before that, the 90s, was a toss-up between Alfie, Big Mel, and who else was in the mix then? Yeah, those two. And then before that, I think you had the Fat, and then you had Sterlo. That's him.
Yep.
Sterlo.
Yep.
So Sterlo was given the 80s, and 70s was given to Arthur Beetson. Or was it Brett Kenny? Brett Kenny was 80s.
Mm.
Brett Kenny was 80s, and I think Sterlo was a runner-up. But yeah, those were the names that were thrown into the mix for greatest of all time per decade, which is not
Do you
bad.
think is that a good that's probably how you could look at if you want to know who the GOAT was, or the GOAT was, just go by each decade,
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
go by each decade. Then, if you want, compare the decades. if you really want to go by longevity, I think it's Cam Smith then Daylight, isn't it? Because he's got the most NRL caps, hasn't he?
Yep.
And plus he's got people like Joey Johns and Jonathan Thurston both calling him the GOAT. You know, and those two in their own right were the GOAT of their own era.
Yeah. I can't imagine Michael Jordan calling anyone of his peers the GOAT.
Yeah, and look, to be fair to MJ, he was the biggest proponent of not comparing eras. You know, he would never even himself take on the GOAT status because, you know, he knew it was unfair to guys before him. You know, the Wilt Chamberlains and Dr. J's of their era. I think you know, and those are people that he looked up to when he was coming up. So it's hard for even him to say, yeah, it's quite obvious that I had the biggest impact, but and all these other things, but I'm not going to call myself or compare eras.
Yep. No, I think you're right. You can't call Tommy Turbo the GOAT on just one season. He does the same thing the next 9 years, then sure.
Oh, totally.
Calling him the GOAT for 1 year is a big call. I think that's the biggest call since my call of taking the New Zealand Warriors over to Australia.
Yes, that's massive, but I think it's a logical call. I think it will definitely work, and you know your reasons for why that should be are spot on. I think. In terms of what's her name, Tommy Turbo, and the GOAT status, I think there's definitely an argument for him to be the best player at the moment in the NRL, no doubt. Between him and probably a couple of others, maybe Cleary, and usually Teddy's in the conversation, but he hasn't had that great a season. Neither have the Roosters, but Cleary should definitely be considered. However, he's been injured, which probably pips Tommy Turbo just ahead of him in that conversation for best player.
Just ahead, you reckon? Nah, man, miles ahead.
I think it's harder.
How many hat tricks he's had? How many hat tricks this year?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
Like,
it's
incredible.
hard. It's harder for Tommy Turbo's argument because he's not a direct playmaker the way Cleary is, and Cleary's the guy who directs traffic and all that stuff. But yeah, totally. Right now, the hottest guy in the NRL has to be Tommy Turbo. You know, he's the Jason Taumalolo of the season that he won the Dally M.
Who's your team anyway? Who team? What team do you support over there in the NRL?
The Warriors.
Oh, okay.
Since 95. Since 95 was the Warriors. Before that was the Balmain Tigers.
Okay, Balmain. Yeah.
Only because I enjoyed watching Gary Freeman.
Yep.
And orange was my colour back then.
Yeah, I was only a Warriors fan when they were the Auckland Warriors. And then when they changed the New Zealand Warriors, I sort of went back to my old team, the Manly Eagles. So.
When it was New Zealand Warriors, when they first brought out as New Zealand Warriors, they went straight to the black and grey, black and grey uniform. And now they're bringing back the Auckland Warriors colours. It's like, oh, hold on. That was the Auckland Warriors colours, not New Zealand Warriors. You guys decided on black and grey. But yeah, vintage Warriors. You remember those games, eh? Those games where the little general would spark up a comeback. They had some awesome comebacks back in the days. You know, they would throw the ball around. You know, consistently throw the ball around at the fifth tackle. So, and make something out of nothing. Unfortunately, they didn't get any further than minor premiership.
Did you watch the last game against Titans and those they brought the biff back at the end of the game?
Yes, I did see that. I did see 4 yellow cards at one point. Mate, unbelievable. 3 yellow cards in one team and 1 in the opposition. Would have been hard.
If you're going to go out, don't win out guns blazing. You know,
there was a few players there who were reported to be instantly remorseful once they were pinged, once they were sent off, which is an easy thing to do once you know. But at the same time, it's like, oh mate, glad you guys brought back the biff and, you know, showed that aggression, but too late in the season. And against the Titans, who were kicking their ass. Oh, what a walloping. And the last game as well. I saw a bit of a story in the papers about the coach talking about, you know, they've built up 2 years of hard work and they've ruined it all with this performance that's not acceptable. I was thinking, come on now. You've got to take the wins with the losses. You can't just expect to win every game. And just because they've had one bad performance and it happens to be the last game of the season where they try to bring back the biff and get themselves yellow carded. Sure, it was a game that could have been much better, much different. But you can't just define the whole 2 seasons based on one game, which is what it sounds like he's doing. You know, he's defining the team based on that one performance, one bad performance and bad behavior. Yeah, I think frustration is probably a good description for what went on, but at the same time, unfortunate that they had to get into fights. They just look like sore losers. You know, losing by X amount to 0. Oh, we won't win the game, but we'll at least have a good go at winning the fight. Which is a typical attitude of, you know, teams that don't take ownership of the fact that they're losing.
what do you think that they need to improve for next year? Is it the players, do you reckon, or
Who, the
is
Warriors?
it just yeah? Do you think they need to? There's sort of like a rebuilding team at the moment, eh? So they've got 1 year under their belt and their RTS left halfway through.
Yep. So
they
the way I look at it, and, you know, I could be wrong, is it was unfortunate that the skipper, the captain of a team, leaves the club during the season, right? And therefore, there isn't a natural leader to take his place. I think it was really unfortunate, and the timing questionable. I think also, obviously, he has his reasons. Artis has his reasons, but I can't help but question, because I'm of the thinking that people don't leave organizations; they leave bad management. I can't help but think, who's the bad management? Who's part of this bad management bracket? And what exactly has he had to put up with for so long that led him to making an easy decision to go to Union? Because I doubt that was the first time he's ever been offered to leave the club, right? So why this time? what happened this time that was so different? I get the family aspect as well. Missed his family. It was an unfortunate situation where, they're based in Australia for a long time, and he missed a lot of milestones with regard to his newborn and other kids, and with his partner. I get that, but I also get that he made the decision, stuck with it for as long as he could, and then this COVID thing happened, and they were kind of rushed to get him back to New Zealand, and he had to make a split-second decision. What would have been a compelling enough reason for him to stay the journey and just end the season, maybe on a high, or stick with it right to the end? Because he'd made so much sacrifice to that point. Why not go all the way? But I guess there's a tipping point for a lot of people. People have their boiling point, and I just wonder. It may not be the case. I wonder if there was other reasons that made it easy for him to just go, you know what, I'm done. I'm out. This has been coming for a long time. We've been talking about it. We've known that the end is near, but I just wonder if he got help through bad relationships that may have festered, bad management, and that kind of thing. It's quite common knowledge, and it's no secret to a lot of circles, that rugby union is his first love. And, he obviously had an eye for going all the way and making the All Blacks one day. And that looks like quite a real dream to have. And it looks like, there can be a pathway for him to achieve that and make that reality. He's definitely got the skill set. He's got the talent, and it sounds like he's putting in the work. So I have no doubt that someone like RTS can go all the way and achieve that childhood dream. With Union, I do wonder whether Auckland NPC, Auckland Blues would be, a setup that will allow him to position himself, for the running. Because as history shows, those who go to an environment like the Crusaders and Canterbury tend to do well and sometimes become All Blacks. More often than not. So
Are you saying the Blues are lucky
I think
to
the
get
Blues,
first dibs?
I think the Blues are very lucky that he's a born and raised Aucklander. And his upbringing was in Auckland and college, and some of his rugby where he made these Auckland Blues rep teams.
Well, if you
Auckland are very
remember,
lucky.
remember Sonny Bill Williams when he came to Union, his first team was the Crusaders.
And I think with guys like Sonny, I really admire the fact that with Sonny, it's not a loyalty thing. It's not because this is where I grew up, or this is where I spent most of my time doing this and doing that, or this is where my family are. He's never based his decision on those kind of emotionally charged, things. I think he's always looked at things from a strategic point of view, and always been calculated in his moves, except for maybe that Bulldogs move to to leave Bulldogs when he did. I think
That was the contract dispute, eh?
Yeah.
Thing. Yeah.
But I think he's been a very smart guy for most of probably 99% of his career. And, that's to be admired. And if anyone's to look up to, a role model who has really had strategic acumen, business acumen, and having a good view on things, they should look no further than SBW, because he's just someone who has always, he's taken a gamble on certain teams, certain clubs, and obviously different codes. He's tried his hand at boxing, and he's got some success there. And it sounds like he's going back there once all this lockdown mess is finished. And good luck to him. He's a businessman. He's a businessman who knew that his days as an athlete were numbered, so he has to, make the right moves whilst he's still in the prime of his, athletic ability. That's to be admired, and unfortunately for him, well, fortunately, because I believe haters are fuel, he's had his fair share of haters, both online and off.
What's the status now? Is he retired or is he doing the boxing thing? I know that his league career got cut short because of the COVID over there in
it's
the Canadian league.
It seems like he's retired from footy, from code, but he's looking to resurrect his boxing career. I'm not sure how that's going to happen, but I'm pretty sure he's got some sort of a deal with the Stan network that he's working for at the moment, where he'll be allowed to go and do his boxing thing as and when needed.
Hey Joey, before we talk about the All Blacks and Wallabies game, the BLEDISLOE test, the last of the BLEDISLOE test, I just want to get your predictions on this weekend's NRL Finals. So, Friday night we got Storm Seagulls.
Ooh, you see, that's a tough one because immediately the heart wants to support the Sea Eagles, but the mind says, who is the battle-hardened club of the two in the last few seasons? I mean, traditionally, historically, you'd go with the Sea Eagles hands down because they obviously date way back before 98 when Melbourne Storm were formed. However, because of the way that Bellamy and the likes have really created something special at Melbourne Storm, a culture that I liken to that of the Crusaders in rugby, I think the Storm will struggle against the Sea Eagles, but they'll get the result. And purely for the fact that you look at the Sea Eagles, they've got one superstar at the moment, and they've got a few stars around them. But then when you look at Melbourne Storm, this is the business end of the season for them. They know it's like clockwork to them at the moment because they've had a few years of experience of being in this business end of the season versus Manly, who have been shoddy. They've been bit topsy-turvy, bit up and down, bit of a roller coaster when it comes to finals footy. So, well, in the last 5 to 10 years anyway. Before that, obviously, Manly is always in the conversation. But yeah, I think if you asked me this question at the beginning of the season, I wouldn't even have seen Manly this far in. I think Turbo has really turned it on for Manly's season, especially this season.
At the beginning of the season, Tom was injured, so I think they lost their first 3 games without him, and then as soon as he came back, they won.
Yeah,
they were winning games. So
yeah, so I think that's it just goes to show that one person can galvanize a team, which he has done, but unfortunately, when it comes to finals footy, it could go either way. He could either be the reason why they go all the way, or it could be, look, defenses have become smart and have known how to contain him, therefore stopping any momentum that they might build during a game, and then, shutting down the confidence of everyone else around him. Therefore, not actually going any further than what's expected.
On Saturday, there's 2 games. The first game is Roosters and Titans.
Look, I think I think, unfortunately for the Roosters, the Titans are on a roll at the moment. They're on a massive roll of being underestimated. Not that the Warriors underestimated them, because I think the Warriors were just rubbish, to be honest. And that's my team. The Warriors are my team, but they were rubbish against the Titans, and the Titans are actually stronger than people may think. I think Titans will shock the Roosters and come out with a win and keep gaining more momentum as they go along. So for me, it's the Titans. I'm going for the Titans.
Nice. Then the game after that is the Panthers and Rabbitohs.
Panthers and Rabbitohs. Oof. Look, I think if Latrell was still playing with the Rabbitohs and not being suspended for the rest of the season, I think they would be within a good with a good shot to winning the game. But unfortunately for them, I would have to say the Eels, Panthers, Panthers, yeah, it'll be the Panthers. Panthers are just too well drilled.
And Sunday's game is Eels and Knights.
Oh, that I've got some emotional attachment to the Knights, so I've got family playing for them. However, I think the Eels are just at this point in the game building some momentum, and I think they'll just have too much firepower for the game.
Sweet, man. How about we talk about some All Blacks Wallabies now?
All Blacks and Wallabies, far out.
So the All Blacks win this one. They win the BLEDISLOE Cup. They won it last week. But 38-21 is the score. I was surprised to see Samu Karevi back in the lineup. They got him back from overseas, so it's good to see him back. I always liked that guy when he played for the Reds, and he showed to be one of their best players.
Yeah, I mean,
on their side.
Yeah, exactly. He was. He absolutely was. Him and Koroibete, they worked well together. As individuals, they worked well. They both had areas or patches in the game where they just stood out. It was really unfortunate at the beginning where they were disallowed a try because of Karevi being deemed offside and grabbing the ball. It's a sad one because, and for me, it's sad because when I was playing rugby, I scored quite a few tries doing exactly that, close to the line, grabbing the ball from an offside position and sneaking off on the fringes of a ruck and scoring under the post. So I feel for the Wallabies on that front, because that was such a good passage of play where, awesome try. That would have been, a different story for the rest of the game. If that try was given, then the rest of the game would have looked totally different. I think the way to beat the All Blacks, and it's no secret, the way to beat the All Blacks is to start well, get some points, get some more points, keep getting points, and when the All Blacks make their comeback in the 60th minute, keep getting more points and starve them of ball. That's how the teams in the past have beaten the All Blacks. It's because they led from the start to the finish, or they led from the start and gave away the lead but got the lead back. You only have to look at England's last game against the All Blacks. They seem to have a really good formula there, plus a good coach, and a really determined team. So there is a way to beat the All Blacks, and unfortunately for a lot of teams, you don't get to do what England had shown, which was, get points, get more points, get more points, and try and stop the All Blacks from playing their natural game.
Yeah, I thought that the All Blacks showed, how clinical they can be. Even with the possession. So the Wallabies had 60% possession of the game, which shows the how much defense the All Blacks played, which was pretty impressive considering they were one man down for 20 minutes and that red card on Jordie Barrett.
Yeah, which is again, it speaks to the different number of scenarios that the All Blacks can adapt to, right? I think when it comes to adaptability, the All Blacks are right up there for being the best at doing it. They know how to adapt to situations where they're man down, two men down, or coming back from, a deficit. And you've got to feel for guys like, Hooper, who shows time and time again how much of a workhorse he is, how influential he is to the Wallabies. And, that must be frustrating as a captain who leads by example, leads up front. Yet, things don't go the way that they probably wish against a team like the All Blacks. I'm pretty sure they will really savour the day they win the BLEDISLOE series, but next win against the All Blacks. So, and he's a class player, Mr. Hooper. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't have the team at the moment, which I think give it time. Give this group of players time to play more together, and they'll come up with a formula that'll be strong enough to beat the All Blacks. But right now,
if you heard McDermott in his post-match interview, he was really disappointed at their performance, and I thought that was the best performance they've had out of the 3 games. And like I said, I think he put that to a lot of players that had those 2 games experience, and then you put in a guy like Karevi, to open it up a bit, but it still wasn't enough. Even though the All Blacks rapport at their conversions, I think they only got 1 for 6.
Yeah. I saw those kicks and thought to myself, mate, Bowden is kicking like someone who stands to win a bet for missing. because the way he kicked those first 3 misses, I thought, shit, this guy's fixing the game. he's fixing the game in terms of his kicking. Someone's winning a bet somewhere because of his misses. And he's getting a cut. That's all I could think. Because
even Mackenzie was missing kicks too. I think he was taking the last ones.
Yeah, there was a point there where Barrett just looked like he couldn't kick a dog.
He's always been like that though, inconsistent.
Yeah, like you see his kicking style. It looks like he stabs it, which is weird, right? But at the same time, if Mackenzie also had a bad kicking game, then okay, give him the benefit of the doubt. But yeah.
With Jordie Barrett's red card, so I looked it up, and he's the 6th All Black in history to get a red card.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's the 6th. So it's funny because the last 3 in history happened in the last 3 years. So
who's that?
So Jordie Barrett, the one last night or on Sunday, Tuanga Fasi, last year.
Yes, I remember that. Yes,
a shoulder to draw on Tom Wright.
Yes.
2019 it was Scott Barrett, shoulder to neck to Michael Hooper.
Far out. Now they just need Bowden Barrett to complete the trilogy.
But get this right, before Scott Barrett it was SBW. and it was
Is that
a British
right?
Irish Lions match. He got a red card 2017.
Before.
But before that, there's a big, huge gap. So SPW 2017. Before him was 1967. Colin
Holy.
Meads.
So okay,
It was
so
Colin Meads.
that raises some concerns for me, because I think it speaks to the way the game has changed with the ruling. The ruling. I think the ruling has allowed for those red cards to be a little bit more prominent than they would have been back in the day, because obviously you're comparing the amateur game versus the professional game. But at the same time, you know, it speaks to a lot of the pundits who are talking about, oh, the game's gone soft. Yeah, you just need to look at how many red cards are happening these days for confirmation of that.
Unfortunately, I couldn't find what Colin Meads did, because we're talking 1967, and he must have poked someone's eye or something.
I reckon it was something really severe, because
Yeah.
do you remember the game where I think it was Andy Hayden knocked somebody in the lineup, right? Or was it Buck Shelford? Well, probably both of them. Knocked somebody in the lineup, and it was a Welshman.
Oh, I think that's on some of the replays, huh?
Yeah.
It's a famous one, eh? It's
Yeah.
infamous. It's an infamous one.
Yeah,
eh?
yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, right now there's hundreds of cameras. You know, all camera angles are covered, and all off the ball stuff is typically covered and found out. And because of all the replays that happen, you can't get away with much like you did back in the amateur days, right? The replay shows all the slow-mos of what happened, headbutts, elbows, eye gouges, all the rest of it. Stomping.
So I found this Q&A. It's a Q&A that the refs use when they have to judge a red card, right? So at the top is was there head contact, because a lot of it's about contact to the head, as well as foul play. Like a punch up, and intentional foul and stuff like that. So on top of the list is has there been head contact, which in Jordie's case was yes.
Mm-hmm.
Next one was there any foul play. So they have to judge whether is there anything reckless or dangerous to others. Is it intentional, reckless, or is Jordie's actions intentional, reckless, or avoidable? So they judged it. So you have to judge. You have to get 2 out of 3, right?
Is that right?
Yeah. So they judged it reckless and avoidable.
Oh, wow.
So it's yes. And then the next one is, what is the degree of danger? Right? Is it direct versus indirect contact, or high force versus low force?
Wow.
So they judged it high force. And then the fourth one is there any mitigation, right? So they look at line of sight, they look at a sudden significant drop of movement, clear attempt to change height, level of control, upright, passive versus dynamic. So they judged it highly reckless.
Yep.
In that case, so that meant that red card.
I remember in the game as well, he took another high ball, and he had a questionable knee that he lifted in that catch as well. So I wondered, if he kept carrying that on, will he hit someone and then get penalised? And obviously, you know, he got the red card following that. So, okay. Reckless, I get. Was intentional one of them?
Yeah.
Or malice?
Oh, they have to pick. They have to pick 2 out of 3. So the 3 they have to pick from is intentional, reckless, and avoidable. Right. So if he gets 2 of those, then it's a yes.
Intentional,
for foul play.
Reckless, and avoidable. Oh, okay. It was definitely avoidable. But I think you have to sympathise with Jordie a little bit, because, you know, how do you protect yourself as the person who's jumping in the air and versus the guy who's still on the ground? And we've seen many instances where just a slight tap of the ankle of the person who's in the air, and they're upended and potentially break their neck or get concussed by a head knock or something, you know. So I get Jordie's reasons for putting his leg up, but yeah, that was a little reckless, you know, having the foot in the line of somebody's face who's looking to either jump or wait for him to come down. So yeah, probably red card was probably justified, I think. Probably the good call.
Yeah, the other one I heard was he was trying to balance himself in the air. That's why he lifted his leg so he could have a soft landing.
Bollocks. They train all week long for this.
Yeah. So, do you believe that this is Ian Foster's best game as coach?
You know what? I can't think of a game where I thought, shucks, this is Ian Foster's best game, except for this game. So yeah, my answer would have to be yes.
His first best game, I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've never thought in previous games. I've never thought to myself, oh, this is Ian Foster's best game in charge. So yeah, this was the first time I've ever even considered that.
It was also good to see AKIRA, a man from Auckland, get man of the match.
How good is it?
Yeah. And
How good is it that
he was a beast.
How good is it to see him with ball in hand, doing what he's always done in sevens, in the 15-man game? You know, breaking tackles, getting past players easily, and it's always out wide too, right?
He's always out wide. You know what? When I saw him do all that, man, the last time I seen him do that for in a black jersey was in the sevens.
Yeah, and the thing is, you know, he's not frowned upon or questioned when he does that because he's doing the work up front. You know, he's doing his best, and you can see he's determined to break through the first tackle in close quarters. You know, so good on him.
So I actually looked up some of his stats, right? And out of the 3 games he's had for the All Blacks for the BLEDISLOE, he's improved his numbers for each game.
Is that right?
Yeah. So yeah,
I think he's
and that's his run meters. So I'll give you a breakdown of his stats, right? So this is in order: BLEDISLOE 1, 2, and 3, right? So his run meters: 35, 80, 88. Defenders beaten: 1, 3, 9. Clean breaks: 1, 1, and 3. And try assists 0, 0, 2. So he's improved. So hopefully he can continue on, bring his numbers up or improving. I don't think. Do you think he can top his performance against Argentina? Probably, yeah. Or they'll probably give him rest. I don't know.
I think he can. I think he's going to go from strength to strength because he's getting more time in the black jersey. I think he's going to really make it hard for all the other guys who, you know, play 6 as well. And I think he'll be our power 6 that we've been looking for a while to replace Kaino. You know, since Kaino. We've been looking for a power 6 to in the, you know, not necessarily in the mold of Kaino, but to take that jersey to the level where, you know it can go. I think AKIRA's starting to show that.
Yeah. Be good for the Blues too. But the other thing I wanted to touch on was the All Blacks midfield. Now, man, you couldn't go wrong with that combination there, Havili and Leonard Brown. Man, they were awesome. So you know, and they sort of that's pushed Rico out to the wing, and we're stacked with our All Blacks outside backs. So that poses a problem to selections, I think, but it's a good problem. But what do you think? Do you think you want to see Rico back in the midfield, or?
You know, I started to enjoy seeing Rico in the midfield and what he could do there. But this game that's just gone, he he just seemed like, he seemed like a guy who was playing his first game for the All Blacks, and he really wanted to impress. And boy, did he impress! Wearing that 11 jersey and doing the runs that he did, they were awesome. Especially his first run with the ball, where he just broke it up the middle, and it took a lot of it took a lot for the Wallabies to bring him down. That was such a good thing to see. I think I prefer him now on the left wing, just based on this performance alone, and also for the reason that ALB and Havili really do well together. And it's a masterstroke for the All Blacks, but I also think Fozzie needs to give some credit where it's due to Razor for that, because during the Super Rugby season, Havili wasn't even, at the beginning of the Super Rugby season, Havili wasn't even in the conversation of becoming an All Black, let alone a starting All Black alongside ALB. Havili said himself, he owes a lot of thanks to Scott Robertson for changing him from utility back to second five. And if it wasn't for that change, he wouldn't be where he is today. That's my thoughts on it anyway. Yeah, I prefer Rico at 11.
Yeah, I actually forgot who Havili came in for in the midfield. It's a good who. He's injured there.
Goodhue, yep.
Yeah.
Goodhue had a mortgage on the jersey, but I think he's going to find it hard to get that jersey back.
I know I didn't touch on your favorite lineup, the front row. But have you got anything there? Because I never watched any of the front row.
I do actually. I am a big fan of Cody Taylor as the hooker. Samsoni Tokeaho, he's awesome. He's doing really well. He's got good throws. He's doing all the basics, which is all you can ask for. Do all the basics and do them well. Cody Taylor brings that element, though, the dynamic element as a ball runner that you really want to see as a spectator. I think as far as props go, I really enjoy seeing Nepo Laulala there. Not saying anything bad about the other props, but I like seeing Nepo there for stability. He really brings a lot to the scrummaging side. He was able to gain a penalty as well from slipper. Loose head prop, as far as the loose head goes, I think it's anyone's jersey at the moment. No one has really staked a claim to get a mortgage on the jersey, so I think that's up for grabs. It's up to whoever's in the fringe or in the mix to really do some great things before what's the name? Tungafasi gets back. And he will be back. Yeah, that's my take on the front row at the moment. Doing really well. Set piece could probably do with a bit more work, because when you come up against a team like South Africa, all your mistakes get exposed, or your weaknesses get exposed.
That's probably one thing we miss out since South Africa's left the Super Rugby competition, because it's sort of like, because we don't see them play anymore. It's like something's missing. It'll be weird to see South Africa play in the Rugby Championship, because we'll be thinking, man, haven't seen these guys in ages. So I don't know who's starring, who's on form, and all that kind of thing. That
Yeah.
Especially with the Super Rugby fantasy that we do, you get to know who these players are. Now it's kind of like we're going in blind. as a fan anyway. From a fan's perspective. But no, man. I think that's it. Thanks for jumping on empty out the clip, man.
Well,
Do you have you got any last words before we wrap up?
No, thanks for having me. Look forward to the rest of NRL footy and the rest of the international games in rugby union to close out the year. I mean, we're only in September now, so there's 3 more months. But yeah, looking forward to ending it all.
Sweet, brother. Don't eat too many KFCs. All right, fuck.